For round 2 of the Formula Renault Eurocup, we are at Monza. It is a wet Monza. It's been wet much of the week. Yesterday, they did get a dry race in, but for qualifying this morning, rain. For the race, rain. And it's a very different grid compared to what we had yesterday with a few of the drivers that you might have anticipated to be up near the front, further back. There is one constant, though, and that is that Lorenzo Colombo is at the front of the grid. He was on pole yesterday. He's second on the grid for today's race, but he spun off on the very first lap of yesterday's race, and so finds himself in desperate need of some points after a disappointing outcome from yesterday. The race that we had yesterday was dominated by the Belgian driver, Hugo de Wilde, but for this, he finds himself a long way back on the grid. De Wilde is only on the 7th row in the JD Motorsport car, so good in the dry, but struggling in the wet conditions this morning. The pit lane has only just opened, in fact, so the car's yet to get to the grid. But when they do, they will line up in the order based on the time set in the session this morning. Let's have a quick look at what happened yesterday, in fact, because this will help put things in perspective going into today's race. New cars, incidentally, for this year, Formula Renault FR19. So this is yesterday, but even though he was only second on the grid, Hugo de Wilde took the lead going into the first corner, and Lorenzo Colombo, who had been on pole position, ended up there. And that was effectively the end of his race. Hugo de Wilde led, bouncing out way, way wide. In second place was the car of Leonardo Lorandi. That brought into the mix Kush Maini. Those two had a good battle early on. Sadly, Oscar Piastri ended up with some damage, and he pitted for a new nose cone, but the Australian driver fell way, way back as a consequence of all of that. Others had their own problems, bouncing wide and off the road. The likes of Alessio De Leda, for example. And so, yeah, Lloveras coming to grief as the race wore on. But then, at the halfway point, into the mix came Monza-born number 51, Federico Malvestiti, getting himself up the order against ex-Formula 3 racer Sebastian Fernandez. And he worked his way through. But nobody could do anything about Hugo de Wilde, who just pulled away. Monza always gives good racing in single-seaters because you can slipstream here. But he'd broken away too early and made sure that toe was never to be retrieved by the opposition. Well, that was yesterday. This is today. You can see how different Monza looks. It's a lot wetter, and the race will start behind the safety car, we're being told. The safety car start. Thomas Shetner, who is the race director, last year's FIA Formula 3 race director, has made the call on safety grounds to start behind the safety car. The race duration is a long one. It's 30 minutes plus a lap at the end. You get testing, you get free practice, you get qualifying, you get 2 long races, you get a lot of track time in Formula Renault. A conscious decision to try and make it so, because you need to attract young drivers and you need to give them value for the budgets that are being charged. Also new, apart from a new car, and you'll have seen it's got the Halo device, is Hankook supplying the tyre for Formula Renault this year, which is something very new, and it's been quite a coup for the Korean brand to hook up with Renault. Formula Renault as a category started all the way back in 1971. The cars have gone through different iterations. Initially, of course, it was a multi-chassis category. The current Formula Renault FR19 Tatuus built, badged as a Formula Renault FR19, but it's in the last couple of decades, really, that it's morphed into this one-make category. Level playing field in terms of the equipment, therefore, and it's down to the driver and the teams to get the most out, the best out of the available package. So the grid taking shape. We've got 22 cars for this second round. We've got 13 rookies battling for the Hankook Trophy, which is awarded to the highest finishing rookie in each race. And the prize includes a set of tyres to be used next year. This is how they are going to line up. The starting order rather than a grid, because of the way that it's going to be this safety car start. And the calendar will take them from Monza to Silverstone for the next races. Then they go to Monaco for the Grand Prix. The next stop after that will be Paul Ricard. Then they will race at the Spa 24 Hours. They will be with Blancpain again, not just at Spa and Paul Ricard, but at the Nürburgring, Hungaroring and Barcelona events. Then Hockenheim and the last rounds will be in Abu Dhabi at the Yas Marina circuit. So the cars now then head on to the circuit through the gloom. And once they get there, we will have the countdown. It's an intriguing entry in many ways, because you've got drivers that are staying on in the championship, but with, of course, a new car, and others coming into Formula Renault Eurocup from other categories. And number 12 is the driver that's going to be second on the grid, Lorenzo Colombo, yesterday's pole position driver, but first retirement from the race. And Lorenzo Colombo, 6th last year in Eurocup, but that was in a different sort of car altogether. This four-cylinder engined Tetris chassis, the Formula Renault FR19 with the modern halo device. And the drivers working their way round to the grid. The race should start in about 8 minutes' time. So it'll be a quick countdown, and then to get the race underway. We've been delayed rather badly early on because the qualifying session for the Blancpain GT series had innumerable red flags, all of which added to the timetable running behind. So the officials trying to push back on if they can, because there is the 3-hour Blancpain race to come after this. So there, number 42 you're looking down on, which is the M2 competition car of Yves Baltas, who was in midfield yesterday, and number 1 Oscar Piastri making his way now up towards the grid, very keen to avenge the disappointment from yesterday. Look down the grid, everybody putting themselves in order, and of course it's a wet time because it's been raining pretty much all day here, so it's decidedly soggy. But Oscar Piastri for the R-Race GP team, one of the top squads within Formula Renault, good to go. Let's see what he can do as the rest of the grid makes its way round to the line. Hugo de Wilde from Leonardo Lorandi from Cushmini was the top 3 yesterday. Victor Martins 4th. Federico Malvestiti was 5th. He's a long way back on the grid today, though, Malvestiti, and it was Sebastian Fernandez in 6th place. Alexander Smolyar is the driver on pole position for today. Now, Smolyar, we didn't really see the best of yesterday because he got involved in a little incident early on, damaged the car, rode up the rear of somebody and did some front damage, so he had to pit as a consequence of that. But Alexander Smolyar going really nicely in similar conditions this morning. He drove in the Eurocup last year and was 12th, 3rd in 2017 in the SMP Formula 4 North European Zone Championship, and also runner-up that same year in Spanish Formula 4. So Smolyar has done a lot of racing in a pretty short space of time, and definitely has his eyes on being champion this season. There's number 12 then, Lorenzo Colombo. He lines up for 2nd on the grid. Colombo in the MP Motorsport car. And Lorenzo Colombo 6th with 5 podiums and 2 poles last year in Eurocup. He also drove in the final stages of the NEC, but Italian Formula 4, he was 3rd going back to 2017, and also has raced in the Formula 4 ADAC Championship in Germany. So Smolyar and Colombo will be at the front. Behind them, there's going to be Victor Martins and Oscar Piastri. Victor Martins there in the yellow car. 5th on the grid, Cushmini, or 5th in the starting order as it now becomes. Cushmini, and 6th will be Leonardo Lorandi. To line up 7th is going to be Amaury Cordil, and João Vieira will start 8th. 9th is going to be Chad Collett, and the top 10 in order, Patrick Pasma rounds that out. There's Victor Martins in the very Renault liveried car, really, the black and yellow colours. Martins yesterday was 4th, so he's got pace, and will be looking to try and get himself onto the podium if he can in this race. What we don't know, of course, is how many laps behind the safety car they're going to do yet. It has been 3 for earlier races that we've had the same principle. So in the earlier GT4 and Blancpain GT Sports Club races here, we've had 3 laps behind the safety car, then they've been allowed to go racing. Cushmini, there he is, 5th on the grid, younger brother of Arjun Maini, and Cushmini coming from British single-seater racing. 3rd in the BRDC British Formula 3 Championship last year. And there you see Leonardo Lorandi. He's getting into last-minute adjustments on the grid. And Lorandi, runner-up yesterday for the JD Motorsport squad, will be eager to try and go one better today if he can. Are they going to do a nose cone change? I think they are. It's going to have to be quick because the race starts in 3 minutes. They might not get time for this. So it's a bit of a panic, this. We see Lorandi's car. Yes, they've quickly changed the nose cone on it, but all a bit harum-scarum in the last few minutes. There is Amaury Cordeel for MP Motorsport. Cordeel, Belgian driver, and graduating from Spanish Formula 4, in which Amaury Cordeel was the champion last year. 28 is João Vieira, also for JD Motorsport. And João Vieira comes to the championship after a 2-year break, but experience of single-seaters of years past, filing off the rust and going strongly as the weekend has gone on. And then behind him on the grid, there is going to be last year's French Formula 4 champion, Charles Collet, and then Patrick Pasma, graduate of British Formula 4, in which he was 6th last year. He will round out the top 10. Now, yesterday, it was 17 laps. We got one safety car phase, but of course it was a quick pace on the dry road. Let's just have a quick walk up the grid, because the pole position driver is Alexander Smolja in number 3. He is on the outside as you look at it on this 1x1 staggered grid, and Smolja is joined by Lorenzo Colombo on the front. Colombo there in the red and white car. The black and yellow colours are carried by Victor Martins, and then the red, white and blue number 1, that is Oscar Piastri, the Australian driver, and we come to him there on the left-hand side as you go up the grid. 5th on the grid is Kushmani there in the black car on the outside near the grandstand. Up against the pit wall starting 6th is Leonardo Lorandi for JD Motorsport. 7th is where you find Amaury Cordeel, and in the green and white colours is João Vieira for JD Motorsport. Then it is Charles Collet for RHGP, black and yellow colours, and Patrick Pasma for Arden, their familiar white band across the orange nose for him. Sebastian Fernandez, similar livery, comes next, and then the green car is that of Xavier Guerreras for GRS. Then you have yesterday's winner, Hugo de Wilde for JD Motorsport, and the British driver Frank Bird in the Arden car. Then returning South African Callan O'Keefe in the FA Racing team. That's Fernando Alonso's team, incidentally. He was here yesterday. Yves Baltas there in the black car is next. Pietro Potacek is near the grandstand. Near the pit wall is Federico Malvestiti. Next car is going to be Patrick Schott. There's a gap where Esteban Mut is not to be found, but we do have at the very back of the grid the car of Alessio Di Leda, and then to complete the field there, Brad Benavides. So missing is Esteban Mut. I can't see him. Oh, he is in the pit lane. Yes, he's just able to be visible. So a pit lane start for Esteban Mut. He's not on the grid, missed the pit lane closing time, and the race gets underway then as the safety car leaves the line. So round 2 of Formula Renault Eurocup is underway, and of course this counts within the 30 minutes of the timed element of the race. The cars go then now down through the first chicane. And for the drivers, this is where they discover where the puddles are. I'm tempted to say the rain has eased, considering what it was like at the end of our previous race for the GT4 cars only about a quarter of an hour or so ago. So things are looking a bit more promising, but it's still a wet road on which they've got to race. They've got to be oh so careful. So the field turns through to make the point once again. These are all identical 2-litre single-seaters. 270 brake horsepower they're capable of. 6-speed sequential gearboxes, Hankook tyres they run on, and a top speed, in the dry at least, around here of 248 kilometres an hour. In the dry, 78% of the lap is spent on full throttle. You've got 32 gear changes to a lap, but in these wet conditions, some of those figures are going to change a little, to say the least. So lap 1 of round 2 of Formula Renault Eurocup. Alexander Smolja it is then who leads the pack. And expect, as I say, probably 3 laps. That's what they were being given in earlier races before being released. So as the cars then now come towards the front of the Variante Ascari, now the drivers start to appreciate the real problems of the visibility, because they've got that spray hanging in the air. The driver at the front of the grid, of course, will have the best of that visibility when we do go racing. Alexander Smolya, that is ahead of everybody else, but let's see how easy or otherwise it's going to be for him to get away from the pack. He will have the ability to see, but he will also be the pioneer. He's going to be the first driver to come across all the puddles and at racing speed as well. The Monza circuit, which fell off the Formula Renault Eurocup calendar for quite a long time, but returned after a break. They raced in 05 and then next came back in 2016, where one of the winners was Lando Norris. And it's great that it is back on the calendar, because there are relatively few tracks for single-seaters these days where you can have good slipstreaming and good overtaking. Spa is one, always has been for these cars, for Formula 3 cars, for example. Monza is another. So we're looking forward to another interesting race here. It's going to be affected, of course, by the conditions, but it'll be a real test of the drivers. The safety car has just gone speeding over the line, and there'll be at least one more lap, possibly two, depending on what the feedback is from the crew in the safety car. So the drivers head towards turn one. Esteban at the rear of the field now, of course, by that pit lane start. He's not allowed to make up his grid position. He's given that up by having to start from the pit lane. Alexander Smolya from Lorenzo Colombo, from Victor Martins at the top three. It's going to be interesting as well in this, for sure, to see how Hugo de Wilde gets on. Yesterday's runaway winner, but now starting 13th on the grid. There is the safety car making its way through. And as the cars come to the Variante Roggia, you see there everybody jinking around trying to maintain tyre temperature, get the pressures up and get themselves ready. But there's no indication yet that the safety car will be in. It might be that they make the decision a little bit later in the lap, but for now, because they were going to have at least one more lap after this, but everybody is getting prepared. But as I say, we've had 3 safety car laps for the other race championships this morning. I should imagine it'll be the same principle, and that seems to be the general plan now coming from race control. It's a shame that the weather is affecting things here, because there's a fair old crowd at Monza. Well, it certainly has been over the course of the weekend, but the frustration now is that they're all getting on cold and soggy. The same is true for the teams, many of whom, certainly in Formula Renault terms, have been here for much of the week and have spent most of it getting wet. Some of the GT teams, likewise, went testing at Misano earlier in the week. They got rained on there as well, so it's not been the best of weeks in Italy for the weather. So the field now wriggling its way down through the approach to the Parabolica, and one more safety car lap and then we should be good to go racing. That's the suggestion from the race officials. Out of the Parabolica they will come, up towards the timing line. Race order, of course, remains the grid order, but as the cars go towards the first chicane at the end of this lap, we should be ready to go racing. It doesn't look that bad, but at speed and when the spray is there, then it starts to look decidedly grotty once more, the circuit and state. The GT drivers have had a really tough time all day, whether it's been in GT3 or GT4, and now, of course, these drivers sitting out in the open air, getting the spray thrown at them. So as the field comes up towards the the Variante Roger, the second of the 3 chicanes. We are expecting to go racing at the end of this lap. And who is it going to be that can steal the advantage on the run to the first corner? Indeed, who is going to be the real mover in the pack and try and gain places as they go diving down towards turn 1? Safety car confirmed it will be in this time, and that means that we are going to be good to go racing very shortly indeed. Pace has been quickening, tyres are getting warmer, pressures are coming up as well, and the field will be released this time. There's the confirmation, safety car in this lap. That's Hugo de Wilde, yesterday's, as I say, runaway race winner. He got away early. There's some good battles going on behind him, but he was able to break away from them and break the toe, build the gap, and so even though he was occasionally being caught slightly, he was always too far gone to have the toe work against him. Today, it's a very different story altogether. Got work to do to try and get himself up through the pack. Now, it could be one of those races where you see a wet weather specialist. It could be one of those races where people make mistakes and drop off and give you places. We'll wait and see. So, first time the cars have, of course, raced. They're a new car this year. First time they've been in competition, and therefore it's its first wet race. And it's interesting as well that we have the dry and wet race mix over the weekend for the first weekend of a new tyre supplier. Down they come to the Parabolica. Weaving around is the notional pole position driver, Alexander Smolja, with behind him then Lorenzo Colombo. It's Victor Martins in the yellow and black car. It's Oscar Piastri fourth in the queue as they will come effectively with 9 minutes gone through the Parabolica. And contact in the pack. That is going to kick the safety car out, possibly, because we've had an accident in the body of the field. We do go green, but there's been an incident right at the very back as the cars came into the Parabolica, ready for the start of the race. So through they go. It's Alexander Smolja leading from Lorenzo Colombo. Victor Martins is there in third place. Fourth over the line is Piastri. Down towards turn 1 they go, and as they break for the corner, Smolja it is that has the advantage. He turns in, and it is Patrick Schott and Alessio De Leda that we have lost in that contact. So those are the two that have come to grief as the rest of the field tiptoes its way out of turn 2, out of the first chicane. But are we going to have the race neutralised, or have those cars been able to limp to the pit lane? That's Kushmini going through, number 41, as the field blasts round. And there, in the FA racing car, well, there you see the drama, the damage, the cars being dragged away. One out by the side of the circuit, one parked towards the pits and getting out. Yeah, safety car is deployed, safety car is coming out. We'll get to the end of the sentence in a moment. Out of the FA racing car, you saw getting Patrick Schott. We've also lost Hugo de Wilde. Now that is at the first corner, I think. Hugo de Wilde, yesterday's winner, with broken suspension and going no further. So the safety car is deployed. We've got one message on the screen saying safety car in this lap and another one saying safety car because they haven't taken the first message off the screen, but the safety car is coming back out. It's just been brought in. So the safety car start now followed by safety car. And Hugo de Wilde's car needs retrieval, so he presumably has gone into the back of somebody and just ripped the front right corner off. But the incident was between Patrick Schott and Alessio De Leda. They were the two that made contact at the back. De Leda had started behind Schott, just got into the back of him. And so there is the other car being retrieved down at turn 1, which is Xavier Lloveras. That's what's left of number 66 of Patrick Schott. A shot in the back, effectively, for him, because out of nowhere, Alessio De Leda ploughed into him. And that car needs removing as well. So Hugo de Wilde, bittersweet weekend, dominant winner yesterday, doesn't get a racing lap in today. Alexander Smolja leads the way. Through they come. It's had this horrible feeling, you know, that's not the only, not the last time we're going to see the safety car. Through they come, Smolja, Colombo, Martins, and then should be Piastri in fourth place. It is Kushmini fifth, then Leonardo Lorandi in sixth, seventh is Omari Cordeel, Patrick Pasma's up to eighth, Chad Collett ninth, and Javiera is 10th. And there is the replay of what happened just coming up to the start of the race, the proper start, with De Leda unsighted, accelerating perhaps too quickly, and suddenly finding Patrick Schott ahead of him. So big contact there, both of them out of the race. De Leder did get to the pit lane, but Patrick Schott did not. And then we had the dramas down at the first corner anyway, with Hugo de Wilde out of the race. And so to Xavier Lloveras out of the race. So behind the safety car, they come now into the Variante Roggia. And with only 17 minutes to go, it's going to be, relatively speaking, for racing laps, a pretty short race, this. But Hugo de Wilde then and Xavier Lloveras out. Esteban Munt, having started in the pit lane, has suddenly gained 4 places. He's up to 18th. He's still last, but as others have been driving into each other, so he's been able to gain ground. It might have been a shrewd move, that, starting in the pit. Starting from the back of the field, therefore, when he was released. Right, safety car on the track, still. And we've not yet had a full racing lap. And the safety car accelerates down to the Variante Ascari. How long before we're going to be good to go, I wonder. Coming then now down towards the final chicane on the lap. Alexander Smolja then it is that leads the way. Next stop, Silverstone, which is noted for its glorious weather. So the team's hoping that they can get rid of the wet, but they've also got Spa and Nürburgring on the calendar, also noted for their tropical weather conditions. The Hungaroring, where we had heavy rain last year, so it's going to be an interesting season ahead, certainly with not only the circuits visited, but also how quickly drivers adapt to these new cars and how quickly the graduates from other categories get used to these rather more powerful 2-litre slicks-and-wing single-seaters. So we are approaching half distance, even though we've not actually had a full racing lap yet. But the yellow flags fly. This is always the frustration for the officials, that the weather affects it because of the need for safety grounds to have a safety car start, it cheats into the race, and then there's an incident because of the weather, which leads into the race, and then ultimately you don't get many racing laps in, but you can't leave cars in dangerous places. End of. There is the leader. Even under the safety car there, you saw the car getting a bit crossed up, coming down towards the first chicane. Alexander Smolja, the R8 GP team, it is behind the wheel of it. Accelerates up behind the safety car there, almost as if to say, can we go a bit quicker? Through they turn. This is the Curva Grande, and speed builds at this point normally under full race conditions on the power, up towards the second of the chicanes, put in just to make the approach to the Lesmos a little bit safer. You're right there, slightly slower. That is the second chicane, that's the exit thereof. You see the curves. Try and steer clear of those, certainly in a single-seater. And again, look, Smolja almost coming up level with the safety car there, as though that's a hurry-up call to say, need to go faster now, please. Now, is it in this time? Lights are still flashing, are they not? Yes, on top of the safety car. When the lights go out, that's the indication it will be in. But it's in this time, in fact, so the instruction will be given to the safety car crew to come in at the end of this lap. Therefore, the lights are going to be turned off, and we will go racing yet again in the second round of Formula Renault Eurocup. So the safety car will be in on this lap. The lights will be out later in the lap, and then we'll go racing once again. It's been a day of interruptions, it really has. And as you look at the race leader, the rather sorry state of Hugo de Wilde's car is prevalent, because that's just being brought now down the back of the pit lane. So yesterday's winner, now spectator, and he will watch 13 minutes and a bit of the remainder of the race. So the safety car due in this time. The race should be back on. And with under 13 minutes of the half hour, plus the regulation lap at the end, it is Alexander Smolja then who comes now out of the parabolica, heading up towards the timing line, and we will go racing, and Smolja tries to get the jump again on the restart. Victor Martins could be the man to watch, though, against Lorenzo Colombo on the way down towards turn one, because look, he's in the slipstream, he's in the draft, he tries to get out of the spray and make a move on the inside line. Down towards turn one they go. In fourth place it's Piastri, fifth is Kushmaini, sixth it is Leonardo Lorandi, but up front Smolja tries to defend as they get down towards the first chicane. They brake hard. Up the inside goes Victor Martins, he finds all the standing water. Does he go through? Yes, he does! Victor Martins goes through on the inside there. Martins up into second place, down to third, then falls Colombo. Piastri fourth as they come out of turn two and accelerate now towards the Curva Grande. I think no sign of a yellow flag, everybody safely through that first part of the lap then. So the race leader is Alexander Smolja, but can he get away? Victor Martins, who yesterday went strongly, got himself into that fourth place, looking stronger again today, shaking off the opposition, with Piastri coming up to have a go now at Colombo as they get towards the second chicane. Can Martins do anything about the race leader? There's a challenge there. Look lower down the order, because to the inside line goes Sebastian Fernandez in number 33, tries to wriggle his way past João Vieira, but he can't do it, and that's the leader, and he is starting to do his best to edge away. What, 4 lengths, 5 lengths up already is Smolja. Second is Martins then. The field turns through for this first proper racing lap. Might be a full one as well. And with 11 minutes on the clock, the fastest lap, an academic one, but Esteban Book in his catch-up of the train from earlier on. So the cars go into the spray, and we are not perhaps going to have many more racing laps, because 3 cars off this time at the Lesmo curves. Yves Baltas is one of them. Also off there is 64 Callan O'Keefe, and there's another of the FA racing cars. Well, we only had another one, that's Brad Benavides. So the whole team's been wiped out now. Patrick Schott had gone already, that's the other 2. And the safety car is going to have to be deployed yet again, but unfortunately in these conditions it's a second safety car interruption, and it could be a lengthy one because they've got to get 3 cars out of the way. But we again won't have had a proper racing lap before the boards come. There they are over the timing line, and it's one of those races that just never gets going. You bunch them all up under the safety car and then they tangle, but you have to have the safety car there because you can't leave cars where they are in the dangerous places. So that's the clear-up operation, a big tangle, some spinning, some going straight on, and Victor Martins then up into second place. At least he gained 1 place while we were having the proper racing, and drivers now trudge away. Callan O'Keefe, one of the drivers involved in that, now a busy driver coach, but coming back into Formula Renault, in which he raced 2, 3, 4 seasons ago, and sadly a retirement along with Yves Baltas and Brad Benavides. So it's a pretty miserable race for Fernando Alonso's team. Fernando was here yesterday, but if he's watching this, he will not be at all impressed. The whole team wiped out before we've even got a racing lap in. So the safety car with 9 minutes to go comes onto the circuit. Already the clear-up operation is going on. Slightly puzzled as to why the safety car wasn't out already. The boards were being shown, but the safety car itself hadn't been given the instruction to move. Anyway, it has now, and it's on the circuit. The rain is falling again, so not only do we have people sliding off the road, but the track conditions are worsening. Because they've not done proper running, the tyres are cold. And there the cars go through the second of the Lesmo corners. And the Lesmos this weekend have caught lots of people out. No matter what the category, we've had cars off the road, through the gravel, into the barriers, and there the safety car waits. The drivers actually policing this pretty well themselves, because they have respected the yellow flags, even though they haven't found the safety car yet. But up through the Variante Ascari goes Alexander Smolja, and Victor Martins will be thinking, well, I'd like a restart, because at least a couple of corners worth of racing might help me have a go for the race lead if I can get myself in a good position on the restart. So there are dejected drivers walking back up the pit lane. There is Alexander Smolja as the race leader. Cars then up to the parabolica. And for many teams, a lot of damage to sort out. The yellow flag is currently being shown on the start-finish straights as the leaders will go by, and there, one driver hurt his hand rather. That's Callum O'Keefe, I think I'm right in saying, the South African. And teammate Brad Benavides is there as well. And the drivers are okay, but the cars need retrieval. 7 3/4 minutes to go. So they found some shelter, and their driver's explaining exactly whose fault it was. So Yves Balthas was there, and that is Patrick Schott at Parabolica saying, well, it wasn't my fault. So the safety car stays out, and down they come towards the Variante Rogia, out of which the safety car turns, and the pack behind all ready to go. Now 7 minutes remain, plus the regulation lap at the end, and how many more cars are we going to lose? We started with 22, we've only got 15 still circulating. Safety cars breed safety cars, as I said earlier. You bunch them all up, inevitably people are going to push, and when they're in close proximity, somebody gets it wrong, then there's more likelihood of them being tangled. But safety car is out on track, and at this rate, the safety car is going to be well placed in the championship because it's going to be on for a good result. So to the Variante Ascari comes the field, 6 minutes of the time element of the race, plus the regulation lap still to go. And coming then into the chicane itself, the third chicane has caught out a few over the course of the weekend. Had it in the GT categories as well as in single-seaters. The field comes to the straight all the way to the Parabolica, and there's no suggestion that the safety car is going to be in this time. Now, behind the safety car, they're lapping at 2.5 minutes, which could mean one more safety car lap, one racing lap to the end of the clock, one racing lap as the regulation lap at the end, and that's it. And even that's a summarization. Callum O'Keefe saying, I don't know what happened. I don't know. Been here all week for testing and racing, and then a really frustrating way, sadly, to end the weekend. That's what's left of Callum O'Keefe's car, that steaming heap in the background. The one in the foreground is his teammate's car, Brad Benavides, and the other one from Fernando Alonso's team, remember, was already up against the wall at the Parabolica. 5 minutes to go, the field comes through. Spolia, Martins, Colombo, Piastri, Maini. Fair play to Victor Martins, he's one of the people, and there aren't many, because of circumstance, that have actually been able to gain places by overtaking. Others have gained them because other people have dropped off the road, but this is going pretty nicely here. 41 was Chris Maini, and Maini currently is in 5th place ahead of Leonardo Lorandi. Formula Renault Eurocup has always had a great pedigree, great stellar cast in terms of rivals and champions, whether it's been the likes of Lando Norris coming through the series, or the likes of Kimi Raikkonen, or you name a rapid Formula 1 driver of the current generation, and the chances are they will have at some point gone through the Formula Renault Eurocup. Seen Valtteri Bottas, Daniel Ricciardo came out of this as example. Remember having the two of them a great battle at Silverstone, where they both raced there years ago. So the point being that it's been this excellent, proven training ground year after year after year. Renault's commitment has always been very, very large to the Formula Renault Eurocup, and now no longer with the 3.5 series, no longer with the Megane Trophy, all the efforts being concentrated on Eurocup. There were regional championships, there were domestic championships for many years, all of which used to get good grids, but then costs spiraled a little bit, and the effort decided to be put into the Eurocup to have one flagship championship, and this is it, and it has delivered good racing this weekend in the dry yesterday, as well as through its history. Now, 3.5 minutes remain. Safety car in this lap. So how many racing laps can we get? We haven't had a full one really yet, so hopefully we'll see some short, sharp racing to take us to the end of round 2 of Formula Renault Eurocup, the second race of the weekend. So the cars now come towards the front of the Parabolica once more. Again, the drivers start to weave around to try and get the warmth back in the tyres, ready to go racing. Alexander Smolja, the man at the front of the queue. He's probably the only person who would not object to finishing behind the safety car, because at least it would guarantee the race win. But Victor Martin's quite the opposite. He wants to go racing. He sniffs a chance of a race win here. Safety car is in this lap then as the field turns up through the Parabolica. They're getting ready to accelerate away, which they should do now then. There's an overlap for third place. Lucas Colombo and Piastri come out of the Parabolica almost together, but Colombo stays ahead to the timing line. Green flags fly. 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock then as they blast down towards the first corner. We don't really know what a flying lap time is in the wet. We've not had a full one yet, but Victor Martins tries to crowbar open the door on the inside. He can't do it. Gets a face full of spray. Smolja is ahead of him, and that means now that Martins has to back out of that. Third is Colombo, fourth is Piastri, fifth still is Miney, and sixth is Lorandi as they come into turn one. But it's game on for the race lead now with the time ticking away. 2 minutes to go, plus that lap at the end. In the spray, Victor Martins now applying the pressure to Alexander Smolja, and Martins have looked really good in these conditions thus far, and now he comes up to attack for the race lead. Down towards the Rogia chicane they come. Is there going to be a chance to challenge? Not there, there's not. Into the braking zone, the rest of the pack, some being able to find a bit of visibility, others darting left and right to try and find some clear visibility as well as make a move for position, and that's exactly what Martins is doing. He's trying to see where he's going, he's trying to apply the pressure to the leader, and also taking that wider line through the Lesmo curves in order to try and find a bit of grip as well. Racing in these cars, in these conditions, is far from easy, but Smolja doing a good job of defending, as there behind him, trying to take the challenge to him now, is Victor Martins. Down they come, under the bridge, that is actually the old bank circuit that goes over the top of the permanent circuit, and into the chicane. And the Ascari sequence comes Smolja and Martins. Behind them, third and fourth, it's still Lorenzo Colombo just keeping Oscar Piastri at bay. Piastri stepping up from the British scene before coming into Eurocup last year. He was 8th in the championship, Oscar Piastri, last year with a couple of podium results, but now as they dive down towards the Parabolica, Victor Martins is not really being able to stay close enough to the back of Smolja to mount an attack. They are going to get 2 more laps out of this, I reckon, because 24 seconds on the clock, look, coming through the Parabolica means the clock won't hit 0 yet. So through they go, and the clock will hit 0 around this lap. The leaders have gone by then, so Smolja it is. Now we're doing proper racing laps. 9/10 clear of Victor Martins. He's pulled away a little bit, and Smolja does the fastest lap of the race as well. Colombo is third, Piastri is fourth, Kushmaini is still there in 5th place, 6th is Lorandi, Charles Collet is up into 7th place, 8th is Pasma, down to 9th has gone Omari Cordial, and 10th is João Vieira, 11th is Sebastian Fernandez, in 12th place it's Petr Potacek, then 13th Frank Bird ahead of Federico Malvestiti, the Monza-born driver, and then Esteban at the back of the pack. More shuffling goes on. João Vieira comes under attack from Fernandez. So the clock has hit the 0, and that'll be the regulation lap then at the end of this. Through there goes number 18, that is Cordial. Amaury Cordial, who was the Spanish Formula 4 champion last year. Meantime, Charles Collet in the black and yellow, another of the sort of Renault liveried RHGP cars, getting himself onto the back there of Leonardo Lorandi as the cars now come down towards the second of the Lesmo bends. Collet goes for the outside line, finds a little bit more grip there. What of the race leaders though? The gap going up in sector 1, and actually now Lorenzo Colombo in 3rd place, starting to close a little bit on those 2 ahead. Down they come, that's 41 Kushmaini down in 5th place. Solid weekend for him, but it's on the battle for 6th. Lorandi versus Collet. Now Jack Collet's getting quicker and quicker in these conditions, finally let loose to go racing, whereas Victor Martins in the MP Motorsport car, same colours, same livery, there's a Renault worked colour, but Victor Martins dropping away a little bit from Smolja now. The field accelerates up out of the parabolica to the timing line they will come, and this will be the last lap of the race then. So Smollier to Martins, the gap has widened to 1.9 seconds. Alexander Smollier now proving what he's capable of. The road getting wetter. You see how much more spray there is now. The rain is falling once more here at Monza. So the drivers, I think, were a bit relieved to get to the end of this and just salvage some points in many cases. Change for 12th place, Petr Potacek up past Frank Bird. And there, the field accelerating from the pit straight, then braking hard into turn 1, and sideways goes João Vieira. Is he going to be able to hang on to his place? Is there going to be contact? Oh, so close. Sebastian Fernandez gets the run on him and will go through. Out of that second gear sequence, speed building now, up through the Curva Grande. He grabs 6th gear around this fast right-hander, and then you're down to 3rd, going in towards the Variante Roggia, the next sequence of corners. So Fernandez up past now into the top 10 against João Vieira. Just one tiny little slip, suddenly things start to change. Out of the Lesmos, that battle will go, but up front, Alexander Smollier getting away. He's done the fastest lap of the race, and there he is almost on his own now, because Victor Martins no longer being able to stay with him. That gap widening as they come down through the Ascari chicane. We're on lap number 13, although only really, what, 3 racing laps proper have we had. Down they come to the parabolica, and Alexander Smollier then is going to take a race win in this second event within the Formula Renault Eurocup. He comes towards the parabolica for the last time. A bitty race in many, many ways, but it's going to be a race win for the Russian driver. SMP Racing colours adorning so many Russian drivers' cars these days. And it's going to be a win for Alexander Smollier then, who accelerates up towards the timing line. And round 2 of Formula Renault Eurocup is won by Alexander Smollier. He comes across the line victorious by a margin of, let's check, 1.982 seconds over Victor Martins. Lorenzo Colombo takes 3rd, Oscar Piastri 4th, and then 5th goes the way of Kushmaini ahead of Leonardo Lorandi in 6th place. Checkered flag is waved, and the field comes, what's left of the field comes over the line with Fernandez 10th, Vieira down to 11th, as we'd seen on that last lap, and Malvestiti getting ahead of Frank Bird as well, up to 13th place on the last lap. So Frank Bird fell, I'm afraid, to penultimate place at the very end. But as far as Alexander Smollier is concerned, it's a race win. He'll be happy with that, because that's good points. Stringing together 2 good results over a weekend always seems to be quite difficult, because the races have very different complexions. Some people are good in one and bad in another, or circumstance goes against them in another. So Smollier takes the win, but with Victor Martins having had a 2nd in that race and a 4th yesterday, he's probably had the most solid weekend of anybody. Kushmaini a 5th and a 3rd, also stringing together some good results. So the cars will go to the Parc Ferme area, and the drivers can dry off, and the teams will, in some cases, load the bits of cars that they now have left back into the transporters and get themselves back on the road to rebuild and get ready for Silverstone over the weekends of May 10, 11 and 12. Lorenzo Colombo rather frustrated 3rd place, because he never really featured. You could argue he didn't have enough laps in which to feature, but having been passed by Victor Martins, he never really got back onto terms with him, and it was then damage limitation trying to hang on to 3rd place. But of course he needed some points after not finishing yesterday. A bit draggled, and now rather frostbitten fans get ready for the 3-hour GT race that we have to come at Monza, whereas the Formula Renault drivers very shortly, as I say, will head to the podium. So having built up what should have been a good single-seater race with lots of overtaking, I'm afraid the weather conditions didn't really allow that to be evident. But Silverstone, the next stop, hopefully we will have good racing as we've had in the past from these new Formula Renaults. The older cars were good there, and I'm sure in a few weeks' time we'll see the same from the new cars. They come down the pit road, and then the drivers, as I say, will go to the presentation area, and they will head to the podium in due course. Smolja, Martins and Colombo, the top three. So that gets Lorenzo Colombo. In the middle is Alexander Smolja, and Victor Martins on the other side of him. So the drivers clamber out of the cars, and Alexander Smolja doesn't mind how he's done it. He wants to celebrate that win. Very, very good drive indeed to soak up, not just the rain, but all of that pressure and have to keep mental concentration acute with the long safety car periods that we had and the frustration of not being able to go racing. It would have been easy to think, right, got to go now, push and fall off the road. But Alexander Smolja controlled the pace. The Russian driver then moving up from Formula 4 into Formula Renault last year and has his sights on the title. Well, that's a very impressive way to demonstrate his intent, isn't it? Is the Indian driver Kushmaini, who's the winning rookie, incidentally, because the other drivers have Formula Renault experience. Kushmaini new into the cars this year, so Kushmaini takes the rookie category and will now make his way across to the presentations and the podium. So Formula Renault Eurocup with its new car in action at Monza, and some good racing we have had, but a frustrating second race given, as we have now seen, the interruptions. But even so, we're looking forward to another very competitive season. Drivers get themselves prepared now for the podium. And the fans coping with the conditions. The rain, I think, has eased a touch, and the bedraggled drivers, as they will be when they get to the podium, will be heading that way in a few moments' time. So as the race winner takes off his helmet, let's try and hear from Alexander Smolja with Dakota.
A massive congratulations. Really tough weather conditions here, but you managed to pull through in first. Well done.
Yeah, I mean, we had just, 3 laps of an actual race, but we had some tough restarts, so there's some kind of fighting. So I'm glad, that I managed through it and we're first now.
You must be happy.
Yeah, of course, my first win in Eurocup, first pole in Eurocup. I can't describe how happy I am.
Congratulations, go get your trophy. Thanks.
So well done to Alexander Smolja, maiden win, and understandably a very happy driver indeed as he walks now to the podium. Victor Martins there in the background, and Lorenzo Colombo will be there as well. So to confirm the results, Alexander Smolja the winner from Victor Martins, Lorenzo Colombo taking third place, Oscar Piastri fourth ahead of Kushmaini, and then Leonardo Lorandi. Charles Collet seventh from Patrick Pasma and Amaury Cordil and Sebastian Fernandez rounding out the top 10. Javiera 11th from Petr Potacek, then Federico Malvestiti and Frank Bird. Esteban Lutz starting from the rear of the field and coming home in 15th, which was also last, but he was the last of the survivors because in the gravel with damage, Callan O'Keefe, Baltas, Brad Benavides, Xavier Lloveras, Hugo de Wilde, Patrick Schott and Alessio de Leda all fell by the wayside. So to echo what the race winner was saying, yes, frustration that they didn't have more laps, but what we have seen from Formula Renault over the course of the weekend suggested we're going to have a competitive season. Let's have a quick look at some of the highlights of the race. A lot of it was spent, of course, behind the safety car, and it wasn't helped by this incident just as the race was about to get going when we had De Leda getting into the back of Patrick Schott, contact, and that meant that the safety car was brought out again. We'd also had Hugo de Wilde off the road, and he was an early retirement, and so too was the car that he'd made contact with, that being Xavier Lloveras. Then we had Baltas, and we had O'Keefe, and we had the car of Benavides in the gravel. That was another safety car period, but when we finally went racing, Victor Martins was quickly on his toes. He was able to gain 1 spot and then set off after the race leader, and it was in the end Alexander Smolja who came through to score a race win. Impressive drive by Smolja. Let's see what happens next time out at Silverstone. So Alexander Smolja it is who takes a race win, and the drivers are now ready on the podium, or just about ready to be brought forward on the podium. So shortly, one hopes, everybody will be present and correct. Rookie podium as well, and as soon as the signal can be given, then out they will come. Formula Renault Eurocup continues to go from strength to strength. Another crop of hugely talented drivers and some great circuits at which they will race, and great meetings as well. We look forward to seeing them at many of the Blancpain GT Series races this year. So Lorenzo Colombo steps out for his 3rd place on the podium, to be joined by Victor Martins. And then for the top step of the podium, it will be Alexander Smolja at the end of this 2nd race within Formula Renault Eurocup for 2019. Is Victor Martins, Renault development driver, and for the top step, it is Alexander Smolja who wins this 2nd race in Formula Renault Eurocup 2019, and they're joined on the podium by the rookie winner, Kushmaini. So the national anthem to the winning driver, and now the presentations will be made. So the trophies come from both Renault and Hankook as the tyre supplier, and the first of the trophies from Tariq Ait Said, the customer racing sporting manager of Renault Sport, goes the way of Lorenzo Colombo for his 3rd position. Victor Martins will receive his from Gianfranco De Bellis, the head of motorsport at Tatius, car constructor. Victor Martins very happy with the points scored in that, but Alexander Smolja is going to be the happiest of the lot. He stands on the top of the podium, a race winner here at Monza, and a great start to his season with a race win. Benoit Nogier, the customer racing commercial director of Renault Sport Racing, steps forward, hands over the trophy, and the drivers in a moment or two will all huddle together for the photographs, and then the celebrations can get underway. Yesterday they didn't spray the champagne, they looked after their overalls, but today they might be a little bit happier to spray the champagne. Kushmaini receives his trophy for being the winning rookie, and as I say, Silverstone, the next stop on the championship trail. So now the team's trophy goes to RHGP, and Alexander Smolja, having had a very impressive drive. It's a shame in a sense that we couldn't see how he would have coped over the full race duration, but you can only do what you can do. Now the photographs taken of the winning drivers, all huddled together, and then the celebrations can get underway. And this time, well, Kushmaini is not totally in the mood for playing. He heads off the podium, doesn't want to stay around and get soaked by the top 3, but champagne is sprayed by the overall victors, and then they will head to the press conference post-race. So for Alexander Smolja, he will make the run to Silverstone as a potential race winner, and it's Silverstone we go to over the May 11-12 weekend. For now, though, from Monza and from me, David Anderson, it's goodbye.